what can I say? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that we're still going after Brighton. I mean, to be fair, with who was the director of recruitment we just signed from Brighton? We beat United to him. Do you guys remember his name?
No.
We just signed one of Brighton's directors of recruitments. United were in for him as well. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and that was actually good business. That was one of the first time I said to myself, actually, this sounds pretty good. He's overseeing the whole recruitment structure for Blueco, so not just Chelsea, Strasbourg as well. But no, this doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, especially if FFP is a problem. Why are you pumping so much money into players? I don't even know who they are. I've never heard of them. They're not even 21. We're complaining about,
Mate, they're at school,
ready-made.
they haven't done their GCSEs.
God.
Well,
Oh,
Alex, because I was going to say, in terms of a feeder club now, it's Graham Potter, Robert Sanchez, Cucurella, Moise Caicedo, the two that have been at the club now since the summer of 2022. That's £225 million spent on players and staff from Brighton. How does that feel? Because in one way, they are effectively now a feeder club to you. But actually, when you look at that list of players and manager you add in there as well, hasn't really been that much of a success.
Well, we're getting our pants pulled down, aren't we? I mean, that's obvious. But fair play to Brighton. They're holding the carrot, and we're going for it. So I don't know what to say. Personally, I can understand Bowley's and Clearlake's idea. I know when they first come in, they wanted to follow a lot of different models. They were looking at Liverpool with FSG. They were looking at Man City with the multi-club model, and then Brighton as well with the recruitment. So I think they're almost trying to implement all three of those styles. Liverpool, in terms of trying not to sack the manager, that's worked well so far. Then you've got the recruitment from Brighton, and then you've got the multi-club model with Man City. And I mean, Strasbourg hate Blueco, obviously. Chelsea don't really like Blueco. There's not a lot of love for the owners. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying that we've got the Glazers because they've put their own money in. But again, I would say the only reason they're doing that is because that was contractually obliged because of the sale from Abramovich. They had to put that money in under the contract of sale. The only difference is they've done it all at once rather than spreading those payments across however many years. They're just pumping it all in straight away. So I mean, it's hardly smart investments from what you can see, but certainly willing to take risks. You can't deny that. And we would all be sitting here saying that Bowley's a genius if we were sitting here top of the league. Nobody's ever thought of this plan before, but they're going for it. For me, yeah, you've got to focus on ready-made players. If we're going and doing this business with Brighton and then we go into the summer and we're penny pinching, then I have a serious problem with this ownership. I'm not there yet, but I'm certainly getting there because we had a bid rejected for Victor Gorkarez in January, a decent bid. I think it was about 80 million. And then we've got Osman Tony that will be available in the summer. Gorkarez will probably have suitors for him as well. There's just a good market for strikers, and now is not the time to be spending silly money on silly players I've never heard of. And I'd love to know what the contracts are for these kids as well. Like what we're talking about, if we're signing them for, I think it's 16 million between them. I mean, what are we paying these guys? You said they haven't even finished their GCSEs.
And Paul, do you think it's harsh we've heard Alex's point of view, do you think it's harsh to judge the team given the youthfulness of the side, or actually given that, as we've kind of discussed just 5 minutes ago, how expensive most of these players have been? Are we allowed to actually criticise and say, well, do you know what, they aren't performing to the level that they should be with price tags on their heads?
Well, we criticise every other team and manager, so why not? I mean, it's not players' faults for what the price is paid for them. And like Alex quite rightly says, when Chelsea come knocking, the price tag goes through the roof because they know the resources that they've got and they know the recruitment, the scattergun policy that they've got of going to recruit young talent, top talent, and they've overpaid for a lot of players. And I mean, we talk about it at Manchester United all the time. Look at Anthony. I mean, he's nowhere near a €90 million player, but it's not his fault. The club paid that for him. But with Chelsea now, you look at the recruitment, you look at the structure, and you talk about these two youngsters that they're signing from Brighton. They're trying to put the foundations in for the future. when actually what's the focus point at the moment is the first team. And the FFP thing worries me for Chelsea. It really does, because you look at the lines that Forest are towing at the moment, that Everton are towing at the moment. You look at what happened in the transfer window in January. Everybody was scared stiff. Nobody did anything because of this FFP, the financial rules. Everybody was trying to thin their squad out and get rid of players. No longer now can you give players 8, 9, 10-year contracts to spread the payments over a certain amount of time. When these rules change come the end of the year to fall in line with UEFA's rules, the FFP rules change. I just wonder where Chelsea are going to sit in all that. The recruitment, yes, we know what it's been like. You question why they're paying 14, 15 million for other people's youngsters. Why are they not coming out of their own academy at that age? If you invest in your academy, you invest in your recruitment system at that age. Why do you need to go paying that amount of money for other Premier League teams' academy products? Why are you not producing your own? But I think there's so many holes that you can pick. And I mean, you know, we've picked a topic today. We've picked Chelsea to talk about, and like we could be here all day discussing what's right and what's wrong. The truth is they've gone for this policy. They've recruited young players. They're recruiting the best, what they think, young players. Financially, yes, they have massively overpaid for a lot of the players, but this is a project that needs time. This is not an overnight fix. I think they've got to go through a little bit more hurt before they get to where they want to get to. But if Todd Boehly believes in this process, if he believes in Pochettino, the age of his players, they are going to mature. They are going to get better. Alex has sat there and said for the last 12 months, this is so much better watching Chelsea than last year. And from somebody who watches Chelsea every week, that's interesting to hear that, because he sees them week in and week out. From a Chelsea fan's point of view, there's actually seeing progression. You look at the league table, you look at the statistics, and everything points to the fact that they're pretty much where they are last year. But actually, for somebody who watches them every single week saying, no, they're actually getting better, then maybe the process is working. Maybe trust the process. But as we know, we work in a results business. 3, 4, 5 defeats, mid-table league finish for a club the size of Chelsea, where you'd expect them to be competing in the Champions League. You'd expect them to be in cup finals. How much patience do the owners have? If this was a Roman Abramovich ownership, Pochettino would have been gone about 3 months ago.
And yeah. Alex, are you concerned about FFP? You know, Paul kind of mentioned it in there. You know, it looks like you might have to be raising at least £100 million in sales before June 30th, or you could fall foul of the PSR rules. How much of a concern is that? I know there are players that you mentioned previously. You mentioned Maatsen, Lukaku's been spoken about, Lewis Hall, but that must still be a big concern going into the summer window.
Well, if we do good business in terms of getting rid of players, it won't be a concern, because Lewis Hall doesn't want to be there. Lukaku doesn't want to be here. We don't want Lukaku. Maatsen's going to go to Dortmund. I'd be very, very surprised if they didn't cough up. I think it's 35 million. You know, so there's 100 million right there. I mean, it's not going to be difficult. And if you want the cherry on top, Chalobah.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.